It's always been very interesting to me, the relationship between hunter and prey, or predator and prey. They seem to have a symbiotic relationship, like they work perfectly together, that the strengths of one fit well into the weaknesses of the other. On the dating marketplace, we men like to think of ourselves as the hunters and beautiful women as our prey. And most of the time this works out pretty well. But there are times when the hunter becomes the hunted and the predator becomes the prey. Today, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about beautiful women, borderline personality disorder, and how these combination leaves us extremely vulnerable to having our entire lives destroyed. This is Life 2.0. Let's talk about it. Disney and Hollywood and social media have all convinced us that there is a direct relationship between beauty and high quality characteristics, say like kindness and loyalty and courage and all these other wonderful characteristics. We just naturally associate beautiful women with positive characteristics. This is obviously very naive, but I think from the time that we're little boys, we're sort of trained on this because it's always the pretty ones that are the victims, or they're the damsel in distress, the one that needs our rescuing, needs us to come and rescue them. The evil ones always stand out. You can see the evil ones from a mile away. But it's the pretty ones that can hide some of the worst kinds of evil. You see, pretty girls, they have a special life that you and I don't understand. They literally live as celebrities in the world. They are given a worldview that is completely unique. People want to be their friends. They want to be close to them. So they give them information that will promote those relationships. I was having a conversation with my ex-wife recently because she was wondering why she had not been as good a person as she would have liked to have been. And I said, well, being a pretty woman means you're living in an alternative universe. You're not living in the same universe the rest of us live in. For us average-looking people, or even below average-looking people, the world is a completely different place. We don't get the same benefits that you guys get when you're on the pretty side of the spectrum. So you might be thinking, John, that just sounds like a bunch of sour grapes to me. So you weren't born the most attractive guy in the world. Why are you taking shots at all the beautiful women? So what if their lives are easier? That's just the way life is. Get over it, move on. And I agree with everything you just said, or I just said on behalf of you. But here's the thing that I've recognized, and I think a lot of other people have too, is that when you live your life on easy, when everything is handed to you, when everyone wants to be your friend, when people are approaching you all the time, it has a distorting effect. On the one hand, you struggle with basic characteristics like resilience. You don't have the ability to overcome obstacles, or you struggle with that. You're not ever having to be faced with a situation that requires you to go above and beyond, to dig deep into that well of intestinal fortitude to get through a situation. Because there's always someone there to help you out. There's always someone there to give you a hand up. There's always someone there bailing you out. The second thing is, you don't develop a respect for other people. You lack empathy because they all seem to be like pawns on your chessboard. It's easy to develop into a mental illness where you become detached from them. You remove yourself from the reality of a set of circumstances because you refuse to accept that what's happening is actually happening. You disassociate from circumstances as a mechanism to not feel compassion or empathy for people. And this is very common. especially nowadays. It seems like, if anything, the incidents of borderline personality disorder are increasing in our society today, because we are celebrating beauty so much, especially publicly online. And so women are doing everything in their power to be associated with beauty. And they are mimicking the behaviors of many of these beautiful women. Just like little girls will mimic the behaviors of the Disney princesses. As they get older, they see these beautiful women online who are living these amazing lives, and they want to mimic those behaviors. And frequently, those behaviors are mental illness, being hidden as some kind of a cute meme on TikTok, or a funny quirk about men, or about society, or about, you know, any other group of people. These days, men are really the only good target. You know, you can't go after, you know, fat people. You can't go after racial differences. You really can't go after religious differences. And God knows you can't go after women. So men are the target of the day. We are the target du jour. So when you look online and you go and watch a lot of these women's feeds, oh man, they are brutal. They are brutal. Now what's interesting is, a lot of times these women are very clearly suffering from some form of mental illness. Their disassociative patterns are identifiable even just in the TikTok, because what they're suggesting can be so evil and vile that there's no way that any human being would think it was okay to say those things out loud, but they do it anyway. And imagine now, just for a moment, that this beautiful girl, no tattoos, no facial rings, nothing, shows up on your dating app feed, and she responds, and she's really into you. Now what's going to happen? One of the primary characteristics of women with borderline personality disorder is they do a really good job of, what's the right word? It's like imaging their, they are following your lead. So they're going to try to be what you need them to be in order to fit into your life. So if you express a preference for something, it's very likely that they're going to agree and maybe even double down and say, yes, they've always loved that. And they're going to try to make it seem like you guys are soulmates. They want to get to that soulmate level very, very quickly. So anything that you show as an interest, or something that you have as a hobby, or an opinion that you hold, they're going to agree with you. And not only are they going to agree with you, but they're going to take it up a notch. They're going to say that that's just the way they've always been, that they love it. They may not know anything about what you're talking about, but they're going to pretend that they do. And they're doing this because they want to have that connection. They're going for that deep, profound connection. Not that they need that, but they know that you need that. And they're going to create this environment where the attraction seems almost mystical, like you have landed in some kind of a fairy tale, and this beautiful woman who is charismatic and sexy and dynamic on so many different levels, and you feel this chemistry, and oh my God, you can just feel it everywhere in your body. I've had this experience a few times and it's intoxicating. It is intoxicating. I mean, and I mean that in the most visceral way, like you feel like your brain is on drugs, because this woman, I mean, she's touching you and holding you and pushing on you, and she's just and she's just everything you want her to be. And she is just trying her best to satisfy every urge and desire that you have. And you think, wow, I am in heaven. I have landed in heaven. Not so fast, my friend. So once they have you kind of hooked, you know, like you're definitely into them. They know it. They see the way you look at them. They can smell the desperation in the air. They know you're hook, line, and sinker. And now you're going in for a zesty session back at her place, you know? You're gonna seal the deal. You're gonna have some fun. And it's just intense. Man, some of the best sex you're ever gonna have is with a lunatic. I swear to God, lunatics can definitely deliver in the bedroom. That is the thing. But, so now you're done. You've had your zesty session. You're in that afterglow, you know? Kicking back, just enjoying the intoxication of it all, the neurotransmitters and hormones are all just starting to, tail off a little bit, and you're kind of worn out. You just kind of want to take a break, and she's going to reveal to you, some really sad stories. She's going to tell you about the trauma that has affected her over the years. Maybe it was her last boyfriend. Maybe it was her ex-husband. Maybe it was just, I don't know, growing up pretty. I don't know. But she's going to tell you a story. She's going to tell you a deep, dark story. And there she is sitting there naked. I'm just imagining this because this is what I remember. So we're sitting in the bed. She's still naked. I'm naked. And she sits up, exposing her breasts and looking me in the eye, the candlelit room. And she pulls out a notebook that she has next to her bed. And inside this notebook are all of these documentations of how her ex-husband was an asshole. I am so serious. And she went on and on and on and on about how terrible the relationship was and how it ended in this explosion of legal carnage. I mean, it was just unreal how bad it was. And of course, you're in that state of mind now, where you've just had sex and you're really still got a buzz on. And remember, she's very charismatic. She's very beautiful. She's lured you in. You're in her place. It's candlelit. And she's exposing her, not just her body to you, but her soul to you. I mean, this is such a mind fuck. I mean, it just really is. All the imagery is there. Everything that you need to be compassionate and empathetic and to fall for this story is so set up. So she's exposed herself. She's told you about her trauma. And in this process, you are, of course, like a normal, healthy human being, is you're empathizing with her. You're being compassionate. You're asking questions. You're wanting to understand, how can you help? This is what men do. How can I help? What can I do? And what it boils down to is you're experiencing what is called a trauma bond. Now, there's lots of different types of trauma bonds. Sometimes they can be direct, where they traumatize you and then they withdraw. But in this case, this trauma bond is about you and her together bonding over her trauma. Oof, that is a powerful, powerful bond, because now you become the protector for her. Like, she's given you her vulnerability, and she's told you how other men had been, how things were before you. And now it's up to you to make sure that never happens again. And here's the trap. So now that you guys are bonded and she's giving you the whole story, it's your job now to protect and make sure nothing like that ever happens to her again. But inevitably, you got to keep in mind, she was a big part of this traumatic event, and she's going to bring that forward into your relationship sooner or later. And when she does, the comparisons between you and her ex are going to become very apparent to her. And she's going to start using that traumatic story as leverage to alter your behavior and to get the things that she wants from you. It's very subtle to begin with, but as over time it grows and it gets worse and worse and worse, until she's using that traumatic event as like a lever to move you in directions that she wants you to go, to get things that she needs from you, to excuse her bad behavior, so that when she acts out at times when things might be stressful between the two of you, she's going to refer back to that and say, well, that's just from that relationship. I'm so traumatized. I'm like shell-shocked from that. It's like PTSD. And sometimes I overreact. Sometimes I don't behave right. Sometimes this happens or that happens. And then you start scratching your head and wondering, what the hell have I gotten myself into? Because what I noticed was that the behaviors were not in alignment with the events. Like, she would react to things in ways, and this happened on two occasions. I think I'm just attracting these people. But these two women, they both had the same kind of reaction, and it was out of alignment with the events that were happening in our lives, and their behavior was over the top. It was hyperbolic. They were screaming, yelling, crying, over simple, stupid little things. And I thought that maybe I had done something wrong. Like maybe I had broken some rule. Like maybe I was the asshole here, you know? But in reflection, I can see very clearly that there was some mental illness. And I was blinded to that mental illness and to the dark side of that mental illness because they were both very pretty. They were both lovely women. And on some levels, I mean, they were very charismatic and chemically, like, you know, they talk about chemistry. Oh, man, it's intense. It's intense. Like they know how to play it. And they're very seductive and they're charismatic and they're sexy and they work it. They work it. And they just draw you in. Woo. And once you're in, man, you got to fight for your life to get out. There are a couple of red flags that you can use as a warning that potentially you're dealing with someone who is a borderline personality disorder. Women, as you know, are very social, and they tend to have friends, where we guys, you know, maybe we're just not quite as social. We just don't carry friends that length of time, like into our 50s and 60s. But women, they do. They have lots of friends, people that they call friends, but I don't know if they really are. But someone who's got borderline, you won't find they have a lot of female friends. They might have a lot of guy friends, but they won't have any female friends. And they'll write it off like it's like, oh, I just don't get along with women so much. I'm more like a guy. I like guy stuff, you know? In fact, they will sell themselves like, oh, I like football and baseball and soccer and basketball. And they'll kind of push it like they're like super into guy stuff. They've really always been that way. And you think, oh, that's perfect, man. That's just exactly the kind of woman I'm looking for, is someone just like that. Someone who will sit on the couch with me on Sundays and watch football or whatever it is you do. Yeah. If she doesn't have any female friends, that is a red flag, my friend. That's an indication that these women that used to know her, because she used to have female friends, they all saw her as a disaster. And they recognized that she had problems and that they needed to stay away from her. The next red flag is that she's gonna create a crisis right in the middle of a time when you have made it clear that you don't have time for a crisis. Like if you're really focused on something at work, or maybe you're gonna be spending time with your family, your kids, whatever, and you don't have time for her at this moment. Like this isn't absolutely a sacred time for you. This is something that you have laid out in advance. You made it very clear to her that you're not gonna be available to her during this time period. This is when she's going to come hard with a crisis. This is when she's going to flip the switch and she's going to need your attention. I had this happen in both cases. And like they want you to come running. They want you to drop everything and make them the priority, even though you've already made it clear that that was not a possibility. Huge, huge problem. Red flag number 3. She might be moving around a lot, moving from city to city. They do this because they destroy all the relationships they have where they are, and they need to move on to another city where they can make new relationships. So if you find someone who has only lived in your city for a very short period of time, and only lived in the prior city for a very short period of time, and the one before that, I'm talking about less than 2 years, that's a red flag. That might be an indication that there is some borderline personality disorder going on. And then finally, when you confront them with their behavior and you start telling them, hey, this doesn't seem right. Like, why are you behaving this way? Why are you losing your cool so easily? Why are you so up and down with your emotions? What's happening here? You're gonna get this dead stare. There's gonna be no recognition that what she has done is even happened. She'll gaslight you, but there'll be no recognition that there was anything wrong with it. There's this sense of detachment, like she disassociates when confronted with the stressful event. She will immediately withdraw, and that 50-yard or 100-yard stare that people talk about war veterans get, that's kind of what they get. They get this 100-yard stare where it's like, what's going on inside your brain? And really what's happening is she's stepping out. She's disassociating from this experience. She's not engaging, and because she can't come to terms with what's happened. She has no valid rationale that would be acceptable to any normal, healthy person. And she knows it, and she doesn't know what to say. And so the only thing she can do is withdraw. And that disassociation becomes very, very common. And then you get the silent treatment, because the silent treatment works perfectly. They just walk away and they don't want to talk to you, because now she's going to try to draw you in again, because now you trying to problem solve. You're a man, you're problem solving, got the problem solving hat on, trying to figure this out, trying to help. Nope, there is no helping here. You are not skilled at this. This is not something you can fix with a screwdriver. This is a problem that she needs professional help with. And your best option is when she shuts down and walks away like that, is to turn around and walk out the door. I remember in one relationship, I had the opportunity, and I did. I walked out the door. I actually walked out the door after this weird fight that I didn't understand, and I confronted her with it, and she gave me that dead stare, and she gave me that silent treatment, and I was like, I'm out. I don't have the bandwidth for this shit in my life, you know? I do not need a crazy person in my life. And I walked out of her house and out to my car, and I sat there for about 5 minutes, and I thought, am I being an asshole here? You know, I'm constantly questioning myself. Am I the one who's out of line? Am I the one who's wrong? And this is the classic trap, because we men tend to want to be the one who solves the problem, who gets to the root of it, who doesn't walk away, you know? And the idea of being a man that walks away, especially from a woman that you've already had intimate relationships with, feels like you're being the asshole, you know? It just does. And so I walked back into that house, only to walk out again 3 months later or 2 months later, and I had to block her on my phone, everything. And yeah, it's a hard lesson to learn. It really is. And I think that at some point, you've got to look inside and you've got to say, what is it about me that's drawing these crazy women? And I think that what it is that the more pulled together your life is, and the more engaging you are as a human being, just kind, thoughtful, you know, approachable, the more you're an easy mark for them, because they're looking for someone just like you. They want someone who's got a solid life that they can lean on, that they can steal from, that they can use to manipulate, that they can pull resources from, that they can cause chaos in, because that's just the way they are. That's just the way the mental illness works. And I know it seems kind of weird to hear someone say that they want to create chaos, but they really do, because it's a form of validation for them. It's the way they feel loved, is when they create chaos and you react to it, you respond to it, you try to fix it. And yeah, it gets gross and sick after that. So how do you protect yourself in these situations? The first thing is, you've got to trust your gut. You know that old saying, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Let that sink in for a minute. If she's really hot and she's really into you, and it's like you guys got everything in common, you may have found your soulmate. God bless you, you might have. But there's a better chance that you're dealing with someone who has a mental illness, so just be aware of that. Second, you got to set firm boundaries. You got to know ahead of time, before you get into any kind of relationship, even before you start dating, what are the limitations? What are the boundaries? What are you going to put up with? What are you not going to put up with? And what is your action going to be when you come across that? So if you set a boundary and you make her aware that you have a boundary and she crosses that boundary, you give her a warning. If she crosses it again, you've got to remove yourself from that situation. You've got to reassess whether or not this relationship is right for you. Because anyone who will cross a boundary twice in a row is probably not someone that you want to have in your life, because they obviously don't have respect for you and they don't have respect for themselves. On the third thing, you need to look at their relationship history. If she's had a lot of really toxic men in her life, that's not a good sign, you know? Why has she got all these problems with relationships? Well, it may not be that they're the problem. It probably is more likely that she's the problem. Yeah, and you know, thinking about these two women that I knew before, they were both very educated, very financially well off, and from good families. And their ex-husbands were both the same way. In fact, I remember one of them, husband went out to get and got remarried, has a whole new family, and seems to be quite happy and healthy in his relationship with his new wife. And I thought, isn't that interesting? How did that happen? And in the other case, this guy was the general counsel for a Fortune 50 company. General counsel for a Fortune 50 company. This is a guy who's got to have his shit together on so many different levels. What the hell happened? You know, I doubt it was him. It was definitely her. And now I know for sure it was her. But I should have recognized that as a red flag. Like, especially when she started blaming him for all this stuff and calling him a narcissist and all these bad behaviors. And I should have recognized that there was something there that didn't match up. The puzzle pieces didn't fit together. And I was too in the afterglow to recognize that, you know? And then fourth, no matter what, you cannot be the rescuer. There are only a handful of women in your life that you can be the rescuer for. Children, I think, you know, as a parent, you can rescue from time to time. I think sometimes you just give them a hand up and then they take it the rest of the way. Sometimes they need a full rescuing. As a parent, your job is to help them get started in life, and you do that. Maybe if you're married and something bad happens and you need to rescue your wife, that probably is a reasonable thing that you would have to do. But when you're dating a woman and you just barely know her, like you've been with her for less than a year, and that's what I call barely knowing. I don't care how many angles you've seen her naked body, that doesn't mean you know her. That just means you know what she looks like, okay? That doesn't mean that you owe her anything. That doesn't mean that you need to be rescuing her financially, emotionally, psychologically, whatever. If she's got a problem, then she's got a problem and she needs to fix it. You are not a psychiatrist. You are not her doctor. You are not her banker. You are her boyfriend. Not your job to do anything else. Be aware what the job of boyfriend is. Job of boyfriend is to go on dates, have sex. That's pretty much it. Listen to small talk, you know? Commiserate if you want, you know? Talk about jobs, talk about family, but your job is not to be her psychologist. If you've been in a long-term relationship with someone who is now showing these signs of borderline personality disorder, and you think you love them, you're in a really bad spot, because you're probably going to have to withdraw from this relationship, and it's going to be difficult. And it's like breaking an addiction. It really is. And not only that, but if you've been a part of the drama for a while and you've experienced these roller coaster rides and you have experienced the adrenaline pumping and the resolution and then the next thing and the next thing, well, you can have become addicted to this kind of craziness in your own life. And you may be suffering from a little bit of the after effects of this yourself. The first thing you need to do is you need to reconnect with people that she has isolated you from. Look around. Who are the people you hung out with before she came along, and who are you hanging out with now? Yeah, I bet you're isolated from a lot of those friends that you had from the past. Call them up, make connection with them, tell them what's happening. Get them to talk some sense into you. Realize that you're probably going to need some support to withdraw from this relationship. It's like breaking an addiction. Understand that there is nothing that you can do to fix her. You cannot fix this problem. And I don't even know that this problem is fixable in a reasonable period of time. It's not like you can run down to the doctor and get a pill and be okay. No, that's not the way this works. This is something that's going to be a problem probably for the rest of her life. And she's going to have negative impacts on men and people that she comes in contact with from now on. The difficulty you're having is that because she's pretty, because she's hot, and she's interested in you, and she gives you all that wonderful good sex, you're thinking, I need to do whatever it takes to keep this relationship alive. And I'm telling you, man, that's a mistake. That's a huge mistake. You need to just get over that idea. You know, that's that whole scarcity, you know, mentality that you've got. Trust me, you do not need a predator in your bed. You do not. You don't know how far she'll go and when she'll snap and what it'll be. Because trust me, she can rationalize almost any behavior to almost anyone for almost anything. And you don't want to be there when that happens. All right, you guys, that's all I got for you today. If you know someone who is going through this sort of situation, please share the video with them. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave some comments. You know, the comments are the best place for me to get new content, so I'm selfishly asking you to check them out. And the comment section of my channel is really excellent. I've just been shocked at how many men have these kinds of experiences and have really good stories, interesting stories to tell. Anyway, till next time, stay healthy, and if you can, stay single.